Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Sirgunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adoration to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Utpatti Prakarana, section 11. Sage Vasistha continues to give insight into the illusory nature of the world and the reality of Brahman, the absolute self. And surprising news, you are a blend of both. One hand illusion, another hand real. Relution. Stripped of illusion, there is nothing but the absolute self. Purnamada, that's full. But you don't have to look up in order to see the full. This is also full. Purnamidam. This world of illusion is in reality the same absolute self. So in the beginning it seems like a mix-up. On one side you are Brahman, absolute truth. Another side illusion. Both have become mixed illusion. But illusion moves away. The reality is the absolute truth. Having heard this teaching, insight given to Rama, Rama said, "O sage, if this world doesn't exist even in the present moment, and it never existed, and will never exist in the future, but what about our direct perceptions? Pratyaksha pramana. Reality is defined as something that you can directly see, touch, hear. Why? Why are we experiencing all this when reality is all illusion?" Sage Vasistha said, "O Rama, in spite of the fact that the senses perceive the world as real, the Absolute alone exists." First important point to understand, the capacity of your sources of perception. Through senses, you are bringing all the data. Are the senses secure? Are they realities? Sometimes your eyes are open, many things happen in front of you. And someone says, "Did you see someone passing by?" I said, "You say no. Why, are you blind?" Someone did pass by. But say, well, my mind wasn't there. So your eyes may be there, your senses may be there. But if the mind is not connecting with your senses, you can't really experience anything. So your sense perception depends upon your mental function. Your mind is not there, your perceptions will not be correct. Now can imagine your mind goes through different stages. Your mind is sattvic, very relaxed. You will have a different type of perception. It opens another dimension. You not only see a person before you, but now your mind sees a person as a near and dear person. And it depends upon how profound you are in your heart. You can see God shining through the person. But all depends. But in the early stage, or if your mind is under stress or some negative imagination, you don't want to even open your eyes wide to see the person. You have already imagined that this is dusht, someone wicked. And as you begin to open your eyes, proof comes to you. It looks exactly as you have imagined. Such is the force of mind. Your mind has made up its mind to see things in a negative way. It will. So therefore, what's happening to your perception? Different states of your mind perceive the same thing in different ways. And behind your mind is your feeling. Behind your feeling is your reasoning. And all these are involved in your perception. And behind your reasoning is function of your intellect. But your intellect itself is a wave in the ocean of cosmic mind. Again, bringing it to a kind of allegorical way of saying. It is not a separate, individualized function. It's a universal. Somewhere from universal source, your intellect is operating. Subtler insight develops, then you understand that intellect holds the capacity. If you do not go through satsanga and sadhana, you remain intellectual. As an intellectual, everything remains a reality, because somehow intellectual mind is a dullwit mind. Every data you want to hold in your mind. And the more data in your mind, the more I know. I know about the stars. I know about the geology. I look at a rock and I know when was it formed. Look at an animal, I know how did it evolve million years ago. And look at a history book. I know how a certain dynasty flourished. I'm giving you a little picture. There's a big world. But that's called intellectualism, intellect-based. Now that intellect has a potentiality. If you allow that intellect to go through listening, reflection, meditation, practice of yoga, if you allow your intellect to be purified, Now that intellect becomes your understanding. Sanamati, Viveka Buddhi, different terms are used. Once that Viveka Buddhi has developed, now you understand all that you have experienced through the level of intellect, ego, mind, senses. All that you are experiencing is not the reality. The reality is being refracted. Reality is like the sun. And all these are refracting that divine sun. Pure consciousness being refracted through your unconscious, through your conscious, through your intellect, through your ego, through your senses. And you are getting a mix-up of what result comes through all these refractions. So no matter, put it in a very simple way to understand, think of your dream. In your dream, while you are dreaming, things are exactly like in the waking state. Only when you wake up, then that's a big difference. But while you are dreaming, a car looks like a car. Human beings look like human beings. Money in your hand looks like real money. And in dream, many things that are not easy in your waking state, they become easy. You begin to fly. You can cross over mountains and rivers. You can get into terrifying situations as well as very pleasant situations. You can eat the best of things that you cherish to eat, as well as negative experiences. But in spite of all this reality in your experience, nothing is real. That's what is dramatized in the scriptures. Duryodhana wouldn't give a needle point of land to Yudhishthira. This is the land of Kauravas, forces of ignorance, forces of darkness. That's the land we live in. Now, I'm speaking from a different angle, leading you to understand you live in a world that is God Himself. So, in other words, not a needle point of land, not a needle point of all your intellectual knowledge, not a little smallest data has any reality. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't study and develop your intellect. You have to also understand that in your spiritual evolution, everything has a place. But the goal must be well kept in your view. What is the goal? Your goal is not to stay in a world having all fanciful things around you, with only one little defect. You are going to kick the bucket. O Rama, in spite of the fact that the senses perceive the world as real, the Absolute alone exists. In spite of perceiving a piece of gold as a necklace, that necklace is only in name. Gold alone exists. Don't tie it around your neck. I'm joking. Why golden necklace? All these are similes given, allegorical way to understand. So many ornaments are made out of gold. To a gold merchant, it's the gold that has the value, which is the reality behind it. how it has been fashioned. I'm talking in a different allegorical setting. The substance is gold. Names and forms that arise out of that substance, they have value in relation to human mind. Mind that is not looking at gold as gold, but a mind that is fascinated by egoistic illusions. In other words, someone gives you a ring, you don't look at it and say it's gold, but they give you a ring with a story. This ring was in your grandfather's treasure house. Now they have excavated it, and it has big history, and it has come to you. Put it on your nose, put it on your head. All that story is not there in the gold, but your mind has created all this story. So coming back to the Vedantic, the world process is called prapancha, fivefold. Sat Chit Ananda is the reality. Name and form are mental projections. You go to a cinema show, you sit on your chair to watch the show. What is the reality? The screen. Now, the projections that are now created, they are not real, they are projections. Frame after frame, pictures are projected in a certain speed. And your eyes don't see that how things are not continuous. They're all broken up. What is continuous there is the screen. But you don't see the screen. What's continuous, what is real is the pure self. But what you experience is what comes through your mental projection. So in spite of the fact that you're watching the show, and show is creating thrill in your body, in spite of it, the screen alone is real. Coming back to the simple point, Sat Chit Ananda. Every individual, instinctively, there is an urge in every individual not to hold in your mind the idea I don't exist. Sat is the instinctive urge in every individual. In other words, deep down in your heart, the idea I will be dead gives a frightening note. But why fright? Because you think you will be walking your death, dead body, and you couldn't bear it. And if you are doing that, who is dead? In other words, it is impossible for you to imagine that you are non-existent. And it is this that manifests through all animals and birds. All want to stay. Another type of instinct is to know. Everyone wants to know more and more. That's called chit, developing more awareness. Because the reality in everyone is absolute awareness. Everyone wants to be happy. And the world provides so many illusions of happiness. Why do you want to be happy? Because that's your instinctive urge. Your instinctive urges radiate from what you are, essentially. You are essentially Sat. You are essentially pure awareness. Essentially, you are pure absolute bliss. These three are not three items, one and the same. Existence is consciousness. Consciousness is bliss. But mind has created countless illusions, millions and trillions of illusions. All illusions are called names and forms. Simple way to understand. You buy a house, you take a picture of your house, and you try to remember your house, how it looks. That's called form. Then you look at your legal papers. This is mine. I own it. That's that name in your mental concept. There are so many houses, but this is mine. Name and form, they are generated, created by your mind. And when you put all the 5 points, Sat, Chit, Ananda, name and form, then that's called Prapanch. And Prapanch is like a big tangled forest. Speaking allegorically, the soul gets caught in it. A mirage appears to be different from the desert, but it is in reality the same as the desert. Even so, this world, though appearing different from Brahman, is in fact Brahman only. First point to understand that nothing you are experiencing is the reality. And that is perfectly a scientific statement. Look at the sky, it is your direct perception. Your eyes see the sky, blue, but can't extract one drop of blue from it. Because there is nothing, not a needle point of blue. That's one illustration, and that's all your experience. This Earth planet is constantly moving in the vast space like a spacecraft. So many things are happening within the Earth, in the Indian environment, and not only in the outer, in your own body. Your body is a miniature universe. All this doesn't come to your mind under. You don't view them because mind is conditioned by karma. So you view things led by that karmic process. Just like you go to sleep from the same bed and same pillows, in spite of all that, you go into different types of dreams. Same hall. If 20 persons are sleeping, each one has gone into a different world. That's nothing to do with the external house where you are. I'm just giving illustrations of illusion. Just as dream objects are nothing but consciousness, so all waking realities are nothing but pure consciousness, Chaitanya. All that is seen as the world is ever established in the self. So therefore, Brahma Satyam Jagana Mithya. Absolute self is the reality. All that you are experiencing through your mind, through your senses, through your individual personalities, all your experiences are like experiences in a mirage, experiences in dream. or the experiences that you have in daily life. All this is not the reality. The sky is not blue, the earth is not static. Even your senses are bringing you not all that is real. Human senses pick up, human nose picks up order in its own way. Animal nose picks up order sometimes miles away. Human beings have to have cell phone to guide them. But there are birds that take 1,000 miles of trips and come back home without cell phones. Sri Rama asked, O sage, if this world is as illusory as a dream, then why does it seem to exist as a solid reality? That again comes the question, and an aspirant hears it, all right, intellectually understand all this. But what can I do about my headache? What am I to do with about all the practical troubles in life? How can that knowledge, all is illusion, resolve your day-to-day problem of tension, stress, grief? Sage Vasistha replied, I will answer your questions with the help of stories and illustrations. Sage Vasistha is giving a little insight into the story he is going to tell immediately, soon after. It's called Mandap Upakhyan, the story of King Padma and Leela. Through that interesting story, the illusory nature of the world is brought to you for better understanding. In section 12, Sage Vasistha continued, O Rama, listen and I will tell you how this entire universe proceeded from the absolute Brahman, who is supremely peaceful, immutable, and eternal. That's the source of the entire universe. Shantam Shivam Sundaram. Satyam Shivam Sundaram, different ways. All this world is absolute truth. All illuminations are nothing but the sun. And all that is, all that you experience is a display of that Satyam, pure consciousness, Chit. All this is Shivam. You are touching God in your touch. Even in your sadness, that awareness that brings out sadness, that awareness itself is nothing but the absolute. Just think of the dream. Everything you are experiencing in your dream is coming from your own consciousness. Nobody else is around you. So you are experiencing yourself in your dream in the form of buildings, chairs, mosquitoes, roaches, birds, terrifying circumstances, pleasant situations, friends and foes. Consciousness is pure like the taintless sky. However, there arises a subtle inclination towards objectivity. This is to give your mind certain comfort. that the scriptures describe Brahman alone was, and then he willed, may I be many. Just like you go to sleep on your bed, you are to yourself, you are alone. But somehow there starts a little ray of externalization. And that results in a dream experience. So entire dream experience, if you are awake, continue with waking consciousness, then see your entire dream experience, your wonderful fun. Sometimes people have that fun. They're dreaming and they know it is a dream, and so they make their dream more elaborate. I find the dream very fascinating. That can give you an idea of Brahman and the world. If Brahman has created the world as his dream, it is his fun. It is a great expression of his joy. That's the base of the universe. God, Brahman alone is for the highest level of mind, for the Uttam Adhikaris, the best aspirants. But if your mind has not grasped it, come to another level, all that you are experiencing is sport of Brahman. The glory of Brahman is manifesting in every little thing. Behold the lilies of the field. How do they grow? You are looking at a world of boundless glory. But all that you are perceiving through your mind and senses, they are all Maya. Nothing is absolute reality. Pursuing the desires of the ego, the soul becomes identified with the elements. The subtle elements give rise to gross elements. This again, in order to simplify this, I will remind you of the basic picture given by Vedanta. Brahman alone is. Prakriti is his magical power. That Prakriti has three modes: sattva predominating, rajas predominating, tamas predominating. Sattva predominating is called Maya. Brahman through Maya plays the role of Ishvara, God, the creator, the sustainer, the destroyer. Brahman through rajas predominating Prakriti, known as avidya, plays the role of countless souls like reflected suns. Each reflected sun goes through its own story, from pot to pot. Same Brahman expresses through tamas predominating Prakriti in the form of subtle elements. They're called tanamatras. Those tanamatras go through a process of combination and computation, bringing about your intellect, your ego, your body, the world around you, all matter. So there is nothing in the world which is not a Brahman. Only when the mind, human mind, is childish, that you go on looking for God, travel long distance to find temples, pilgrimage places, with a big history on your head about how it all happened. But all that has its own purpose. Every person, as he grows, goes through kindergarten. Kindergarten has a purpose. If you don't go through it, can't advance. But as long as you do not have that understanding that God is equally present all over the universe, more surprising, all over your own personality. Therefore, best of pilgrimage center is right there. Just as the dream world arises even without one's willing it, so this world process arises in Brahman, like trees that grow and die in a vast forest. It's allegorical. So the worlds arise and are destroyed in the great forest of pure consciousness. This world tree arises without any seed. In your dream, you see big trees. Look for the seed. Without the seed. The whole dream world arises. Look for its cause. And the cause is nowhere. Darkness frightens you. Look for the darkness with a flashlight. Can't find it. Cities that arise in dream or in the imaginations of the mind are false. Yet they are perceptible during the state of illusion. It is Brahman that has assumed the role of the jiva, just as a blazing conflagration may identify itself with a single spark that arises from it. So Brahman identifies himself with the individual soul. What you are being led to understand is just an ancient simile. If you kindle a piece of rope, there's one spark there. Suppose you whirl it in a circle. That one little star now creates a whole circle before you, a circle of light. The circle of light and the little spark are one and the same. Brahman and every little soul is one and the same. Tattvamasi, thou art that. It seems difficult to understand. Look at reflected sun in every jar of water. Think of the difference between big sun and that little reflection in a jar of water shaking. The reality, every little reflected sun is the sun. Not as a reflection. Reflection is unreal. It doesn't exist. It's good for children. When children ask, "Mother, give me the moon." Mother shows a little bucket of water, puts it in the courtyard. Moon is reflected. I say, "Baby, I love you so much. I give you the moon." Baby jumps into it and dances, playing with the moon. Now, another way of looking things called Laya Chintan. Think of holding a piece of garment, a cloth. It has its name, it has its story, who has given you, and all that. Look into it. First, to recognize its identity, what type of stuff it is. Look further. It is made up of threads. Don't tear it in order to find the threads. Come to that understanding. The threads have created all this. then come to an understanding that those threads came from fibers. If it is a cotton type of cloth, it has come from cotton fibers. Those fibers came from cotton. Cotton came from forest, from the trees. And the trees drew nutrition from the earth. Earth element relates to ultimately water element, etc. Ultimately, all is Brahman. So without tearing up your cloth, you understand how it is fashioned by threads, fashioned by fiber, fashioned by cotton, fashioned by earth element, water element, fire element, fashioned by God Himself, pure consciousness. All at the same time. Cloth is there, but it is nothing but fiber. Fiber is there, is nothing but cotton. Cotton is there, is nothing but earth. And so forth. So you are there, but your body is nothing but vital forces, pranas. Pranas are nothing but mind. Mind is nothing but understanding, intellect. Intellect, ego, is nothing but pure awareness. All this is nothing but Brahman. Allowing your mind to have that type of meditation called Laya Chintan. And Laya Chintan is more developed in Om Upasana. A-U-M, and I'm not going into that now at this stage. Just as one might become a wandering traveler in a dream, so the soul has become an incarnating entity in the living dream of this world process. Led by the desires to see, the spirit in human being projects the sense of vision. Similarly, led by the desire to hear, touch, taste and smell, different senses develop. The body consisting of mind and senses is very subtle. However, by intensifying mental illusion, the subtle body is interpreted as the gross body. What you are being led to understand that you are really mind. But mind comes to a stage of illusion and constantly develops an erroneous knowledge that body is different and mind is different. So you find the body as the first and mind is the cause. But where is body if you take the mind away? This world is nothing but pure consciousness. All this is Brahman. Brahman that is peaceful, supreme peace, non-dual, void of all multiplicity. The entire universe and all details are the expressions of Maya, the magical power of Brahman. Just as whirlpools arise in water, so the world arises in Brahman, exists in Brahman, subsides in Brahman. A person might see his own death during a dream, but on waking he realizes the falsity of the dream vision. Similarly, life after life, soul goes on suffering from the dreadful fear of mortality. Death, source of intense fear. But all this fearful experience is just like seeing yourself dying and dead in your dream. Because there is someone experiencing the death, someone The death, the experience of death is something being observed by the you that is not dead. The death of the body as well as the destruction of the world at the time of great deluge are illusory if you have developed intuitional vision. Brahman alone is. How can there be creation or destruction of the world? Simple way to understand. Watch the illuminations of the sun. How wonderful colors come in the sky, fascinate your mind. Next day you will go for looking for it, it's not there. And you cry. Countless illuminations come and they go on coming and going. And mind can stay fascinated by different expressions. You can go on taking pictures. And remember, on March 15th, this was the picture of the sky. I'm just joking, but you can have millions of data. But behind all that, what's the intuitive vision? The sun alone is. Look at the sun. That's all. All the fascinating things are nothing but that one reality. All experiences are nothing but consciousness, awareness. And you have an experience of coming close to that awareness in deep sleep. You are not using your senses. You are not using your mind. You are not using your intellect. You have set your ego aside. Time doesn't operate. Time and space have gone away. And you have nothing to lose. When you wake up, you feel so refreshed. Follow this mantra. Having been separated from all that, you feel not a single tinge of tragedy. So why are you allowing your mind to be constantly banged by sorrow and misery? You have your own personal experience, first-hand experience of existing without ego, without mind, without senses. And in walking, you are told you are going to lose something you like so much in Hawaii. I'm just joking. Also, understand, scriptures give you very quick statement. Realizing it is another matter. But to have a good understanding of the truth, that's the most important point for leading a life with purpose. So how long will it take to cross over illusion? That doesn't matter. As long as you go on understanding it and bringing in your life a blend of bhakti, devotion to God, surrender, and understanding that the whole world is a matter of illusion. It's not something so real that it will break your head and your head is scattered forever. Your head is not this normal head. Your head is pure awareness. Sun is the head. Reflected suns can be tossed around, but tossing around a reflected self, a reflected sun, doesn't do any damage to the real. The real sun, that's what you are. Due to ignorance, you are identifying yourself with a reflected self. How to move away from that illusion of the reflected self to the revelation, I am the Absolute. I am the non-dual Absolute Self. And this is not a matter of time, it's not a matter of history. It is the reality at all times. You look at the sky blue, but it is not. The earth static, but it is not. The world seems to be so real, but it is not. It's not a matter of one day things will change and heaven will come down on earth. And we have to go on waiting for it. But here and now, all this is Brahman, the Absolute. I am that. That's the profoundest reality. And the whole Yoga Vasistha is planned to gradually lead your mind and bring all the needed insights to help your life to flow on with bhakti and jnana, with devotion and wisdom towards that revelation. And depending upon the degree of your aspiration, some may attain within just a few days, some may attain in course of their life, some may attain in few more lives. But the goal, the reality remains the same. With this I will conclude. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.